If you never post photos on social media, psychologists say you might be more intelligent than 95% of people online. And I'm not talking about book smarts. I'm talking about emotional intelligence, the kind that determines whether you'll be successful, happy, and mentally healthy in life. In fact, research from Stanford University found that people who don't post their photos on social media score significantly higher on psychological tests measuring self-awareness and emotional security. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to reveal 5 psychology facts about social media that explain why staying invisible online is actually a sign of superior intelligence, and why the most successful people you've never heard of deliberately choose to stay that way. This might completely change how you see social media addiction. Let's begin. Before we go into the psychology of people who don't post their photos, let's talk about everyone else. According to research from the American Psychological Association, the average person checks social media 58 times per day. 58 times. And here's what's disturbing. UCLA's Brain Mapping Center discovered that receiving likes on social media activates the same neural pathways as gambling and cocaine. We're not just using social media, we're addicted to it. But here's what makes the addiction to social media so dangerous. Most people have no idea they're trapped. They think they're just staying connected, while their brains are being rewired for validation dependency. Now, tell us, how many times do you check social media per day? Be honest, because the people we're about to discuss, they saw through this trap years ago. And that brings us to the first sign of their superior intelligence. First, people who don't post their photos on social media have what Harvard psychologists call high privacy orientation. And this isn't about being secretive or antisocial. This is about intelligent boundary setting. Here's a psychology fact about social media that'll blow your mind. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with high privacy orientation have 43% lower rates of anxiety and depression compared to heavy social media users. 43%. But here's what makes this a sign of emotional intelligence. These people understand that privacy isn't just about hiding information. It's about protecting your mental energy. Think about it like this. Every time you post a photo, you're opening yourself up to judgment from hundreds of people you barely know, people who don't actually care about you. Your brain has to process all that feedback. The likes, the comments, the silence when nobody engages. According to Stanford's Social Media Lab, this creates what psychologists call validation dependency. You start needing external approval just to feel okay about yourself. Your self-worth becomes a slot machine. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you can't stop pulling the lever. But people who don't post their photos, they've built what researchers call secure self-esteem. Their confidence doesn't fluctuate based on likes. Their worth isn't determined by comments. Their happiness isn't dependent on going viral. They've chosen being alone with their peace over being surrounded by fake validation. And that's not loneliness. That's wisdom. Again, tell us, are you someone who values privacy, or do you post regularly? I want to know, because this privacy protection leads directly to the second sign of intelligence. Here's the thing, when you're not constantly performing for an audience online, something powerful happens in your psychology, something most people never develop. Second, the psychology of people who don't post their photos reveals something rare. They have what psychologists call high self-concept clarity. Let me explain what this means. Research from the University of Pennsylvania analyzed over 10,000 social media users and found something stunning. People who post frequently often have fragmented self-concepts, meaning they don't actually know who they are. They're using social media to discover their identity through other people's reactions. But people who don't post, they've already done the internal work. They know their values, they know their purpose, they know what matters to them, and they don't need 500 strangers to confirm it. According to data from UCLA's psychology department, people with high self-concept clarity experience 50% less social anxiety, make better life decisions, and achieve their goals at significantly higher rates. Why? Because they're not distracted by the noise of public opinion. Here's a powerful psychology fact about social media. Every time you post seeking validation, you're essentially asking the crowd, Who am I? Am I enough? But people with high self-awareness already know the answer. They don't need the algorithm to tell them they're valuable. They don't need likes to feel worthy. They don't need comments to feel seen. They've mastered something most people spend their entire lives searching for: genuine self-knowledge. And this isn't about being alone or isolated. Studies show these people actually have deeper, more meaningful real-world relationships because they invest in connection, not performance. While most people are desperately seeking confidence through likes and followers, these individuals already have something more powerful. Third, people who don't post their photos on social media have what psychologists call secure attachment styles and authentic confidence. Now, here's where the psychology of social media gets dark. According to research from Harvard Medical School, 68% of frequent social media posters show signs of anxious attachment, meaning their sense of security depends on constant reassurance from others. They post a selfie and obsessively check for likes. They share an achievement and wait for validation. They photograph their relationship to prove it's real. But here's what the data reveals. This isn't confidence. This is fear dressed up as self-expression. Real confidence, the kind that psychologists call secure self-esteem, doesn't need an audience. The American Psychological Association conducted a longitudinal study tracking people's psychological health over 10 years. They found that individuals who rarely post photos consistently scored higher on measures of emotional stability, life satisfaction, goal achievement, relationship quality, and overall mental health. Why? Because their confidence isn't fragile. It doesn't shatter when a post doesn't perform well. It doesn't require daily reinforcement from strangers. Think about it. When you're truly confident, you don't need to prove you're attractive. When you're genuinely successful, you don't need to broadcast your achievements. When you're actually happy, you don't need witnesses. These people understand a profound psychological fact about social media. The more you need to show something, the less you actually have it. They're not performing confidence for followers. They're living it in private. And ironically, by not seeking attention, they often command the most respect in their real-world circles. Now I'm curious. Do you think true confidence needs an audience? Let's hear your thoughts. Because this secure confidence allows them to do something most people can't. While everyone else is thinking outward, constantly worried about external opinions, these people have developed an internal navigation system that changes everything. Fourth, the psychology of people who don't post their photos on social media reveals they operate from what's called an internal locus of evaluation. This is a psychological concept developed by Carl Rogers, founder of humanistic psychology. And it's a key trait of what he called self-actualized individuals, people who've reached their full potential. Here's what it means. Most people have an external locus of evaluation. They judge their worth based on what others think. Should I post this? Will people like it? What will they say? Their entire decision-making process is controlled by anticipated external judgment. But according to research from Stanford's psychology department, people who don't post have an internal compass. They judge themselves by their own standards, their own values, their own definition of success. A study published in the Journal of Research in Personality found that individuals with an internal locus of evaluation achieve their goals at 57% higher rates, experience 40% less peer pressure influence, make more authentic life choices, report higher levels of life purpose. Why? Because they're not constantly recalculating their path based on the crowd. Think of it like this. Most people are like ships without anchors, drifting wherever the current of public opinion takes them. But these individuals, they've dropped their anchor deep into their own value system. They know their true north. This is why they don't care about what's trending. They don't chase what's viral. They don't follow what's popular. They're focused on what's meaningful to them. And here's a powerful psychology fact about social media. The algorithm is designed to make you conform, to make you follow trends, to make you perform for validation. But people with an internal locus of evaluation, they're immune to that manipulation. Take a moment to ask yourself this. Do you make decisions based on what you want or what others might think? Be honest. These people have figured out something about social media addiction that most people are completely blind to. Fifth, people who don't post their photos understand the dark psychology of social media. They've seen through the game and consciously chosen not to play. Let me share some research that'll change how you see everything. The University of Pennsylvania conducted an experiment. They had participants reduce their social media use to just 30 minutes per day. After 3 weeks, participants showed dramatic decreases in depression, down 43%, loneliness, down 37%, FOMO, down 52%, anxiety, down 35%, just from using it less. But here's what makes the psychology of people who don't post their photos on social media so advanced. They understood this before the research proved it. They recognized that social media platforms are engineered for addiction. According to former Facebook engineers and tech insiders, every feature, the infinite scroll, the like button, the notification design, is specifically built to trigger dopamine and keep you scrolling. These people saw that social media isn't reality. It's a curated illusion designed to make you feel inadequate. Leon Festinger's social comparison theory explains exactly what happens. When you scroll through feeds, your brain automatically compares your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and you always lose that comparison. According to MIT's research on social media psychology, this constant comparison creates chronic dissatisfaction with life, decreased self-esteem, increased materialism, higher rates of depression and anxiety. But people who don't post their photos, they've opted out of this psychological trap. They've realized that being alone with your real life is infinitely better than being surrounded by fake connections. They've understood that real experiences don't need documentation to be valid. They've discovered that the best moments happen when you put the phone down. They chose presence over posting, reality over performance, mental health over metrics, and inner peace over public approval. And here's the ultimate psychology fact about people who don't post on social media. By refusing to participate in the validation game, they've achieved something most people desperately want but never find: true freedom from others' opinions. Now, final question. After hearing all 5 traits, which one describes you? Let us know in the comments below. So let's bring this all together. The psychology of people who don't post their photos on social media reveals 5 signs of superior emotional intelligence. 1. They protect their privacy and mental energy. 2. They have crystal clear self-awareness. 3. They possess secure, authentic confidence. 4. They operate from internal standards. And 5. They understand the psychological trap and choose freedom. These aren't signs of weakness, shyness, or being antisocial. These are markers of advanced emotional intelligence. These people aren't missing out. They're opting out, and there's a massive difference. They've realized that social media addiction isn't about connection. It's about dopamine. Being alone isn't loneliness. It's peace. And staying invisible online doesn't make you irrelevant. It makes you free. They don't need to be seen to feel whole. They don't need to be liked to feel worthy. They don't need to be viral to feel valuable. And in a world performing for validation, that is the ultimate form of confidence. Now here's what I want to know from you. Are you someone who rarely posts photos? Or are you trying to break free from social media addiction? Drop a comment right now and tell me which of these 5 traits you identify with most. And I want to hear your story. And listen, if you love understanding the hidden psychology behind human behavior, why people think the way they think, why they act the way they act, and what's really going on beneath the surface, then you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because on this channel, we don't just scroll through people's feeds. We decipher their minds. We explore psychological facts about emotional intelligence, human behavior, and the invisible patterns that control our lives. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll unravel even more fascinating psychology. Until then, remember, you don't need to be seen to be significant.